After Walter said this, he turned and left the ward. Doris looked at him leaving back, and her whole body trembled with anger. Her mother Leathina walked forward with tears in her face, took her hand, choked up, and said, "Doris, forget it, give up, Mom can't just watch you jump into Walter's fire pit." Doris's eyes were sour, tears couldn't help but burst into torrents. "Mom, Dad doesn't have much time left now, if we can't get this kidney source, within half a month, maybe." Leathina slapped her hand a few times. Although it was painful, she resolutely said, "Your dad and I have lived for more than 50 years. In the past 50 years, we have lived full, happy, and prosperous. The same I am also very satisfied. If your dad leaves like this, he won't have any regrets in his heart. After all, you have tried your best." Doris choked and said, "Mom, you tried your best, but I haven't. If I promise Walter, Dad's life will continue. If I give up this time, it will be decades from now. Here, I may always be living in guilt and unable to extricate myself. It is possible that I will not forgive myself until I breathe my last." Leathina asked her back, "Doris, if you save your dad in this way, your dad may not be able to forgive himself for the next few decades. You save him and let him watch you living in dire straits every day. This may be crueler to him than death." Doris hesitated for a moment, sighed heavily, and said, "Hey, Mom, let me consider this matter again. There are still 24 hours, and I will consider it carefully." Leathina wanted to say something, but she swallowed when the words reached her lips. At this time, she didn't want to lead Doris too much to make a decision. After all, no matter how you choose this kind of thing, it is full of pain. When Charlie came to Chin Gang's house, the other guests hadn't arrived yet. The dinner time is 7 o'clock in the afternoon. At this time, it is not less than 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Charlie drove to the villa. Chin Gang already took Aoshui and Aodong, waiting anxiously at the door. Chin Gang was in a very good mood today, because Charlie not only planned to host a banquet at his home today but also promised to give him a rejuvenating pill. Charlie refined 2 kinds of pills this time. One is the first to treat Jacob's disease and refining the heart-dissipating pill. This kind of pill is relatively low level, can cure all diseases, and extend the life of the patient to a certain extent, but it does not have the rejuvenating pill to make the body get the magical effect making the user feel like 20 years old. What he planned was to give back to everyone who came to the banquet today a blood relief pill as a gift them. In addition, because Chin Gang asked Aoshui to give him top-quality purple ginseng that was more than 400 years ago so that he was able to make 30 rejuvenating pills, so he prepared and gave Chin Gang 1 extra. A rejuvenating pill. Charlie just stopped the car, and Chin Gang couldn't wait to greet him with his daughter and nephew, and said respectfully, "Mr. Charlie, you are here." Little Chili Aoshui also said very embarrassedly, "Aoshui welcomes Mr. Charlie." Aodong also learned something, and said respectfully, "Aodong welcomes Mr. Charlie." Charlie nodded lightly and said with a smile, "President Chin, today I chose to host a banquet in your house." It must have been really annoying. Chin Gang hurriedly folded his hands and said, "Mr. Charlie, you are too polite. You can choose to come to Chin's house for a banquet. This is a blessing for Chin. If you can come, Chin's house will be splendid." Charlie smiled slightly, waved his hand, and said, "Okay, if you are polite, don't say anything to each other with business. Let's go in and talk, and I plan to give Aoshui some guidance in the afternoon." As soon as Chin Gang heard this, he smiled and turned away, respectfully making a gesture of invitation, and said sincerely, "Mr. Charlie, please first." Charlie once visited this villa of Chin's family by the lake. Little Chili Aoshui also especially drove a speedboat and took him for a long swim on the lake. But the weather right now is still cold, and the lakeside scenery is more or less depressed, not as lush and vibrant as when he came last time. Therefore, Charlie said to Chin Gang in passing, "Mr. Chin, when the winters come in the villa, the vitality is a little lacking. Don't look at the trees and grassland that are only temporarily withered, but in terms of reality, these must be regarded as dead objects. So it's better not to live here before the beginning of the spring. It will have a little impact on your body and fortune." When Chin Gang heard this, he immediately said, "Oh, Thank you, Mr. Charlie, for reminding us that if this is the case, we will move back to the city tomorrow, Aushue subconsciously said. Dad? Why don't we go to Thompson's community to buy a villa? Not only is the place big, but you can also be a neighbor with Mr. Charlie. Chin Gang smacked his lips and muttered, It's indeed a good idea, but the Thompson first-class villas were all sold out when they were on sale for the first time. I don't know if anyone resells them yet. I'll let people find one for us, Aushue said with joy. That's really great. After that, Aushue looked at Charlie and asked, a bit ashamed, Mr. Charlie, if we move to Tanshan first grade, will we not bother you? Charlie smiled and said, How could it happen? If you really move in, it would be a good thing. We can be neighbors. As soon as Chin Gang heard Charlie express his attitude, he immediately relieved himself and said with a smile, Since Mr. Charlie has said so, then I will pay attention to it in these 2 days. Aushue was naturally extremely happy in her heart. In fact, she didn't want to live in such a remote mansion. The main reason for living here was that there was a very complete exercise room. No matter the size of the facilities, it was a lot better than those professional exercise rooms in the city. Inferior if one would ask her about those in the city. However, if there is a chance to be a neighbor with Charlie in the future, it doesn't matter if there is no such a good practice room. While talking, Charlie walked into the living room accompanied by 3 members of the Chin family. Chin Gang invited Charlie to sit down on the sofa, and then personally brewed a cup of fine black tea for him. Mr. Charlie, this tea was especially found by someone from Wuyi Mountain. The quality is excellent. Please have a taste. Charlie nodded, took a sip of tea from the teacup, and said with a smile, The tea is sweet, sweet and smooth in the mouth, with a lingering fragrance. It really is a good tea, Chin Gang said hurriedly. Since Mr. Charlie likes it, I'll bring you 2 boxes to taste later. In fact, the tea maker Jin Junmei, whom Chin Gang asked in person to find, made 10 boxes of black tea last year. Among them, Chin Gang bought 2.5 boxes at a high price, accounting for 1/4 of the share. Originally, this was Chin Gang's plan to keep for a whole year of rations. Now he has drunk 4 or 2, and there are about 2 boxes and 1 or 2 left, but when Charlie liked it, he didn't hesitate to prepare to give them all at once to him. Of course, Charlie never took other people's things for nothing, put down the teacup, and then reached out from the pocket of his coat and took out 2 small boxes of red sandalwood. Chin Gang saw the 2 wooden boxes in Charlie's hand, nervously, and didn't even stop breathing consciously. He held his breath and looked forward to the contents of the 2 wooden boxes. He knew that with Charlie's unique personality, there must be one of these 2 wooden boxes, which contained the rejuvenating pill that made his soul linger and dreamed of.